Okay, so we've made some stuff, put it in our world. Now we want to give it something other than these really basic materials that come standard on them. On the box brush, it's just the world grid material. We want it to look a little bit more interesting. So we're going to make our first material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here into the content panel and I'm going to right click and I get a menu that pops up and I'm going to make a new material. So if I click on that, it's going to give me the opportunity to make a new material. So I'm going to call this basic material. You guys call it whatever you want. Now I need to open the material editor. To do that, I simply double click on the material that I just made. And so now I have this basic material. Now these tabs you can also move. I like to drag them and move it around so I can just toggle back and forth between them, just because that's how I like to do it. But again, you do it however you want. So welcome to the material editor. We have these nodes, which are the basic elements that you can change and play around with your material, right? And then we have this grid space. We have a palette where we have lots of functions and effects that we can play around with. Over here is the details panel. Okay, so what this is giving me the details of the material itself, right? So if I click and I scroll down, we can tell that it's opaque, right? The shading model, there's a lot of details and stuff that you can play around with. You probably will not be touching this for the most part in our class, but it's all there just in case. What we're going to do is the first thing is we're going to give this a color. Right now, this is our material. It just looks black. Of course, you can give it different shapes. That's a plane where you can't see anything. There's a cube. We're going to go back to the sphere. That's kind of the standard one. So the first thing that I want to do is let's give it the color. So if I right click and I search for constant 3 vector, which also, by the way, is over on your palette right there. And these, you're going to, constant and constant 3 vector are the ones you're going to use really frequently. This is what we use for our color. So right now it's black. I'm going to click on this and I get a color wheel, which you guys are all familiar with. So I don't know, let's make it kind of this blue color. All right, so right now it's blue. My color is blue, but it's not changing my material viewer and it's not doing anything there. What I have to do is I have to connect it. So I move my mouse over and left click on that little node and I drag it over to base color. And there we go. I have now a very basic blue material. But why stop there? There are so many other things that you can change with this. So most of the other nodes that we're going to look at right now are, there's going to be one thing that you're going to use is this constant. So I can drag it out from the palette, or I can right click on the grid and search for constant. And you see I can pull it up that way too. So you have a couple of different ways. So if I click on my constant and look over at the details panel, it has a value of 0. So I can give it more value where I want. But of course it's not doing anything because I haven't connected it up. So I'm going to put this in metallic. You can see now I've started to get a bit of a shine to my material. And basically this value, the metallic, goes between 0 and 1. So 0, hit that, it's going to be totally flat, and 1 is going to be, it's basically its shiniest or most metallic. But in order to get it really glassy, we've got to hook up the roughness, a constant to the roughness. So I've already got one out here, so I'm going to do that. And you notice that I have my roughness set to 0. So now we have a seriously metallic material. So if I didn't want it to be so reflective, right, I could up that value and you can play around with that. Okay, now if I didn't want it to be metallic, maybe I just want it to emit light. I'm just going to break that link. And the way you do that is you move your mouse here and you click on Alt on your keyboard and then left click, hold it, and then click on the node, and it break your node. So I'm going to put this over into the emissive color, and it's going to make it glow, right? So that you can play around with. We won't be using that too much. I can have some tutorials where we go into this a little bit more because it is super useful. I use it a lot. Okay, but for right now, let's just make that roughness. I'm going to break this one. There we go. Now, if I want to put this somewhere, first of all, I have to go up here. I have to apply it. That's way in case it's actually being attached to any mesh, and save it. And there I have my material. So I can go ahead and I can